At 22:42, somewhere in eastern Ukraine, a sudden signal appeared on the radar. It was the Zoopark-1M, Russia's deadly tracking system. Within seconds, the crew realized the truth. They had only 6 minutes to escape. Every second counted. Inside the cabin, the air was heavy with fear. The familiar roar of rockets grew louder, closer. The clock was ticking. Failure meant annihilation. The Ukrainian crew fired the Vilkha-M, a precision missile designed to outsmart Russian defenses. Immediately, the Russian Tor-M2 anti-air system locked on, preparing to strike it down. A deadly race had begun. Missile versus interceptor, technology versus brute force. And then, impact. A massive explosion tore through the night sky. Shock waves echoed for miles. The lesson was clear. In modern war, courage and technology can overturn sheer power. But this was only the beginning, because just hours later, another Russian strike targeted a convoy of tanks. What happened next will change everything. Stay tuned. The battle has only just begun.
A real race against time.
Exactly. We've got some fascinating source material detailing really every second of this high-stakes fight. Our mission today, for you, is to unpack not just what happened, but maybe more importantly, how this one battle shifted the strategic landscape.
It reveals a lot about modern warfare. Precision versus brute force.
It does. So prepare yourself. You're about to experience it all right from the beginning.
Okay, let's set the scene. It's July 2, 2025. You have a Ukrainian team. They're positioned near Pokrovsk. They're ready, poised to launch their advanced Vilkha-M missiles.
And the target?
A massive Russian ammunition storage facility. It's in a place called Kartisk. This depot, it's a linchpin, really, for the Russian supply lines, feeding their offensive in Donetsk.
So taking it out would be huge.
Well, absolutely huge. It would severely cripple their ability to keep up the pressure on the front lines. A major blow.
Right. Sounds like a pretty standard high-value target strike plan.
Yeah.
But then something goes wrong.
Very wrong. Almost before they can actually launch, there's this chilling development, burst of electromagnetic emission.
Radar.
Exactly. The Russian Zoopark-1M counter-battery radar system.
Right.
And it's close, less than 40 kilometers away. It's detected them.
No mistaking that signal. They know they've been spotted.
Instantly. What was meant to be this precise, maybe even stealthy operation, it just transforms into a desperate sprint for survival.
Because once that Zoopark paints you...
You know it's coming. A deadly barrage of Smerch rockets is already on its way. Calculated, fired.
Wow. So how long do they have?
The calculation? 6 minutes. Just 6 minutes to fire their own missiles, the Vilkha-Ms, and then get out of there alive.
And the air defense is already waiting.
Oh, yes. Russian Tor-M2 systems are on high alert, ready to intercept anything they launch. The clock isn't just ticking, it's screaming at them.
Okay, so let's back up slightly. This detection, you mentioned it wasn't just bad luck. There was something before this. A feint.
Right. Our sources indicate this wasn't random at all. About 15 minutes before this main detection.
Okay.
The Ukrainians had actually fired a few, let's call them test rockets, at secondary targets. It was meant to be a diversion.
A classic feint. Make the Russians look the other way.
Exactly. Distract them, mask the real target, the real launch prep.
Yeah.
But it didn't work like that this time.
What happened?
It immediately triggered an alert in the Zoopark-1.
Yeah.
That system is specifically designed to pick up artillery activity. So the feint actually woke it up. It started scanning, actively waiting.
Oh, wow. So the diversion actually primed the weapon that caught them.
Precisely. The moment the Vilkha-M started its main strike preparations, the Zoopark-1M locked right onto their position, instantly transmitted that data to the Russian artillery units.
And that's when the 6-minute countdown started.
That's the moment. An electronic hunt turning into this brutal, time-crunched duel.
It's like the feint set a trap for themselves. Incredible. To really understand the pressure they were under, let's talk about the Russian systems. You mentioned the Zoopark radar. How exactly does it function as this sort of extra sense?
It really is like an extra sense for their artillery. It's typically mounted on armored vehicles, so it's mobile, and it's constantly scanning the sky.
Right.
It calculates the trajectory of any incoming rocket or missile incredibly fast. We're talking seconds. And the critical part is just one launch, a single projectile heading up.
That's enough.
That's enough for the Zoopark to trace its origin point and relay those coordinates for immediate counterfire.
So if you're launching, the return fire could literally be on its way before your own rocket even lands.
Or even before you can pack up and move. That's the danger. Detection is almost simultaneous with the ability to retaliate.
And that retaliation, you mentioned the BM-30 Smerch. Describe that system. It sounds fearsome.
Fearsome is the right word. Devastating might be better. The Smerch is all about saturation, overwhelming firepower. It's a multiple rocket launcher, huge, on wheels.
How many rockets?
12 massive tubes, each firing 300-millimeter rockets, and it can unleash them all in just seconds.
And the warheads.
They can vary. Fragmentation, incendiary, even cluster munitions, depending on the target. In open areas, a single Smerch salvo can just obliterate hectares of land, turn it into craters.
Pure destructive power.
It's one of those feared conventional systems for that reason, brute force saturation, designed to leave nothing standing in the target zone.
Okay, so that's the Russian side. Near instant detection, massive saturation response. But Ukraine's bet was different. The Vilkha-M missile. This isn't just a bigger rocket, is it?
No, not at all. It's a different philosophy. Precision over saturation. Ingenuity. The Vilkha-M comes from the Luch Design Bureau in Kyiv. It had Soviet roots, but it was totally modernized. It's a new generation precision weapon.
It's heavy.
Oh yeah, nearly 2 tons. Carries a high-impact warhead. But its real strength, alongside the payload, is its sophistication, its brain, if you will.
And that comes down to navigation. The sources really highlight this. 3 systems working together. Why is that such a big deal?
That's the fascinating part. Most missiles rely on 1, maybe 2 navigation methods. GPS is common. The Vilkha-M uses 3 simultaneously.
Which are?
GPS, its Russian equivalent GLONASS, and its own internal inertial navigation system.
Inertial. That means it tracks movement itself without external signal.
Exactly. It uses onboard gyroscopes and accelerometers.
Yeah.
So the crucial thing is redundancy. Electronic warfare, jamming, it's common now. If GPS gets jammed,
Which happens a lot.
all the time. If UPS is jammed, GLONASS might still work. If both are jammed, the inertial system takes over, keeping the missile on its calculated course.
Making it incredibly hard to interfere with.
Almost immune.
Yeah.
And incredibly precise. We're talking a very small margin of error. Accurate enough to hit specific bunkers, command posts, fortified depots like the one in Kartisk.
So for the Russians, letting these things actually launch towards Kartis?
Was simply not an option. They knew the depot would be destroyed if the Vilkha-Ms got through.
Okay, so we have this sophisticated missile, but the crew is under this insane 6-minute deadline knowing Smerch rockets are inbound. Inside that launch cabin, the pressure must have been unbelievable.
Unimaginable. The clock feels like it's running double speed. Normal programming for a Vilkha-M launch takes about 3 minutes. Standard procedure, checks, balances.
They didn't have 3 minutes.
They knew they had maybe half that, 1.5 minutes, perhaps 2 tops. Every coordinate entry, every adjustment confirmation had to be perfect under immense stress.
A mistake means mission failure, or worse.
Or worse, their own destruction. It's this frantic, high-stakes digital dance against time and incoming fire.
And then the Russians turned up the heat even more. Electronic warfare directly against the launcher.
Yep. At 22.32, it got even worse. Russian systems started actively jamming their GPS signal.
So that redundancy was immediately tested.
It was. Without that primary external data, they had to rely on preloaded maps and manual inputs, guided mostly by the inertial system. It's a riskier way to operate. The potential for error increases with every second that ticks by.
They must have been flying blind, electronically speaking.
Essentially, yeah. Relying purely on the missile's internal smarts and their own pre-calculated data.
And with time evaporating, standard safety protocols, they just went out the window.
Completely. The normal firing sequence has safety gaps.
Yeah.
Usually about 45 seconds between launching each missile, allows the system to reset, confirm targeting for the next shot.
No time for
None. They compressed it brutally, down to just 30 seconds between launches. The first rocket rips across the sky. A streak of fire. Immediately they're prepping the second. Launch. Then the third. Launch. And finally the fourth. Each launch is just an act of sheer desperation.
pushing the system, pushing themselves to the absolute limit.
And it wasn't just the countdown timer on the screen. The pressure was physical too, wasn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Outside the cabin, those sounds.
Huh.
The terrifying whistle and crump of incoming Russian rockets. First distant, then getting closer, louder.
Proof positive the Smerch barrage was arriving.
Undeniable proof. The Russians hadn't just detected them, they'd calculated the location and fired back fast. Every second they stayed in that spot increased the odds of a direct hit. So the second that fourth missile cleared the launcher,
No time to check results, no time to think. The driver slams it into gear, foot down, accelerating hard into the darkness just seconds later.
what happened?
The first Russian Smerch rocket impacts, right where they'd been sitting moments before.
How close?
The explosion was only 400 meters from their launch point. They literally escaped under fire, driving away as explosions erupted behind them.
An incredibly close call. Survival by seconds.
Just seconds. Sheer bravery, and maybe a bit of luck, too.
Okay, so the crew escapes, a miracle in itself. But the main event, this contest between precision and saturation, is now playing out in the sky over Kardisk. You described the Russian defenses as a steel belt. What did that involve?
It was a dense, layered system. Those 4 Ukrainian Vilkha-Ms were flying towards Kardisk, straight into this network.
What kind of systems?
A mix. Modern Tor-M2s, very capable at short range. Panzer S-1s, which combine radar-guided cannons and missiles, and even older Shilkas, Soviet-era anti-aircraft guns, acting as a final line of defense.
So multiple layers, overlapping fields of fire.
Exactly. On a map, it would look like a complex mosaic of detection zones and kill zones, all designed to stop anything getting through to that vital depot.
And initially it looked like this belt was going to hold.
It did. The first Vilkha-M was detected quickly. A Tor-M2 radar locked on, standard procedure, launched 2 interceptor missiles in sequence.
Looked like a certain kill.
For the operators on the ground, yes. A routine engagement. Trajectory calculated, interceptors launched, just a matter of seconds before impact.
But then at 22.42, something unexpected happens. The sources call it a jink maneuver.
Ah, yes, the jink. This is where the Vilkha-M's design really paid off. Suddenly, the incoming Ukrainian missile executes this sharp, unpredictable change in course.
Not random.
Not at all. It's pre-programmed. The engineers designed it specifically for this. The missile performs an automatic evasive maneuver precisely when it calculates enemy radar has locked on and launched interceptors. It anticipates the interception point.
So it dodges after the interceptors are already committed and can't easily correct.
Exactly. The result was, well, pretty dramatic. The Tor interceptors flew straight past, they lost their lock, their reference point, and just detonated in empty air.
Wow. And the Vilkha.
It might have taken some shrapnel damage from the interceptors exploding nearby, but its inertial navigation system kicked in, recalculated the course, and it just kept going towards Kardisk.
Incredible. One missile gets through like that. But there were 3 others.
And that's where the real pressure began for the Russian defenses. That first successful jink was remarkable, but the other Vilkha-Ms arrived almost simultaneously, crucially, from different angles,
Overwhelming the system.
forcing the TOR and Panzer radars to divide their attention. They're trying to track multiple targets, none of which are flying in straight, predictable lines because they, too, might be jinking. It turned what should have been a coordinated defense into something chaotic.
Electronic chaos. Trying to track multiple maneuvering targets at once.
A frantic exercise in electronic pursuit. The defenders were scrambling. You had interceptors launching luminous trails crisscrossing the night sky, but many were climbing unsuccessfully.
Well, the Vilkhas just kept boring in.
Exactly. That seemingly impenetrable barrier started showing serious cracks. The combination of smart planning, multiple missiles arriving together, and that evasive tech, it flipped the script.
So for the first time, maybe, in this kind of exchange?
The advantage wasn't with the sheer volume of Russian defensive fire. It was with Ukrainian ingenuity and the precision of their weapons.
And finally, those missiles reached Kardisk. What was the impact? The sources describe it vividly.
They pierced that final defensive line. Drone footage from kilometers away showed these points of light diving towards the depot, then turning into columns of fire.
A direct hit.
The first missile hit external storage. That triggered a massive chain reaction. Stockpile shells and rockets, they all started cooking off, exploding in sequence. Huge shockwaves rolled across the area.
But the main target was the bunker, wasn't it?
Yes. And seconds later, thermal cameras captured it, the underground bunker, packed with ammunition. It just erupted. An explosion so intense it lit up the entire horizon like daylight.
How much ammunition was lost?
Estimates suggest around 3,000 tons. Gone. In one strike. That's enough ammunition to sustain weeks, maybe months, of continuous artillery bombardment.
A catastrophic loss for the Russians there.
Strategically devastating. Immediately, the Russian lines in that sector around Donetsk, they lost a huge chunk of their required firepower.
What were the ripple effects?
Logistics had to scramble, reroute supplies desperately. Artillery batteries on several fronts just went quiet. They didn't have the shells. It forced a major pause, a reorganization.
Gave the Ukrainians breathing room.
Significant breathing room.
Yeah.
But beyond the immediate material loss, the lack of ammunition, there was the psychological impact.
What was that?
Just the grim realization spreading through the Russian command that even their most heavily defended critical depots weren't safe anymore, not against these new Ukrainian precision weapons.
A sobering thought. And the crew who launched them?
They survived, escaped by the skin of their teeth. But they achieved what seemed impossible just minutes earlier. They turned what looked like a suicide mission, getting detected so early, into a strategic victory of huge proportions.
So stepping back, what's the big takeaway here? For us, for you, the listener, trying to grasp these dynamics.
I think this single engagement sends a really clear message about modern warfare.
Which is?
That brute force,
Yeah.
sheer numbers, saturation. It isn't guaranteed winner anymore, not on its own.
It's the combination.
It's the combination of smart technology, like the Vilkha-M's navigation and jinking, coupled with tactical boldness, launching under fire, compressing the sequence, escaping like that. That's what shifts the scales now.
Precision defeating saturation.
In this specific duel, yes, decisively. This deep dive into July 2nd, 2025, it really shows how this invisible war, the technological and tactical battle, is constantly evolving.
New chapters being written constantly.
With lessons etched in fire and sheer ingenuity. It shows how quickly an established advantage, like layered air defense, can be challenged and potentially overcome.
So for you listening, perhaps the question this raises is this. In our world, with technology getting ever more complex, information and countermeasures flying back and forth, how much does strategic advantage depend not just on what assets you possess,
but on how cleverly, how innovatively you actually use them?
Exactly. Something definitely worth pondering as you continue your own deep dives into the world around us.